Welcome. Welcome. This is the Citizenship in the World Merit Badge, and this is a test for a new idea to allow for a remote classroom environment, sort of similar to, online classes. This will be an online lecture for the Citizenship in the Merit Badge, or Citizenship in the World Merit Badge, which we're going to start this first one just sort of going through the pamphlet itself, the book, since that is our authority on the matter. Citizenship of the world. We have a couple requirements. Explain what citizenship in the world means to you, what you think it takes to be a good world citizen. Explain how one becomes a citizen of the United States, and explains the rights, duties, and obligations of U.S. citizens. Discuss the similarities, differences between the rights, duties, and obligations of U.S. citizens and the citizens of two other countries. I'm planning on getting a couple of people in for that part, people who have actually lived in other countries, so that we can get a good idea of the differences between how they grew up and how, what things are like in the United States. Do the following. Pick a current world event. In relation to this current event, discuss with your counselor how a country's national interest and its relationship with other countries might affect areas such as security, economy, values, and the health of its citizens. Also, select a foreign country and discuss with your counselor how its geography, natural resources, and climate influence its economy and its global partnerships with other countries. Again, since we have a couple of people who have lived, grew up in other countries, we're going to go ahead and use them and use them as a sounding board. We're going to go over and talk to them about the geography, their natural resources, climate, what it's like to live in those other countries. It's all part of being a global citizen, is sort of knowing what it's like in those other countries. We're going to do two of the following. Explain international law and how it differs from national law. Explain the role of international law and how international law can be used as a tool for conflict resolution. Using resources such as major daily newspapers. I thought it said mail. The internet and news magazines. Observe a current issue that involves international trade, foreign exchange, balance payments, tariffs, and free trade. Kind of boring stuff, but it is sort of what makes the world go round. Money, right? Explain what you have learned. Include in your discussion an explanation of why countries must cooperate in order for world trade and global competition to thrive. We're then going to select two of the following organizations to describe their role in the world. My current recommendation is the UN and Amnesty International. Those are a couple of really good ones. The WHO we could also get into also. That's the World Health Organization. Really interesting organization. Helps, with diseases spreading throughout the world. If you've ever played the game Pandemic, it's sort of that sort of thing. They're always featured in, world apocalypse movies, and I think that World War Z they were in. Yeah, anyway. Do the following. Discuss the differences between constitutional and non-constitutional governments. Again, it's something that until you've lived under a different type of government, it's hard to sort of grasp your head around how it really works. It's so easy to say, hey, it's like this, but until you've lived in a monarchy or dictatorship where you have no choices, it's something that if we can get someone in here to talk about it. I know a couple of people who have lived in Africa under a couple of people such as Mugabe in Zimbabwe, who went through apartheid in South Africa. A couple of people I used to work with. And it might be interesting to get their idea of Well, if you can understand them, their accents are pretty thick. Um, that's something I'll think about. But if I can, I'd like to get them in. Name at least 5 different types of governments currently in power in the world. Show on a world map countries that use each of these 5 different forms of government. And then we're going to do the following. Explain how a government is represented abroad and how the U.S. government is accredited to international organizations. Accreditation is an interesting word. We'll talk about that a lot. Well, not really a lot. Describe the roles of the following in the in the conduct of foreign relations: the ambassador, the consul, the Bureau of International Information Programs, Agency for International Development, the AID, AID, United States, and Foreign Commercial Service. And then explain the purpose of a passport and visa for international travel. Interestingly enough, that we'll talk about Cuba a little bit for that one. My sister just recently has a cruise that she's going on, and she has to get a visa to go to Cuba because they added Cuba to her cruise, and it's an extra $75, but it gives her the ability to go there, which she otherwise wouldn't have been able to. Do 2 of the following with your parents' permission and share with your counselor what you have learned. Visit the website of the U.S. State Department. Learn more about an issue you find interesting and is discussed on this website. That's my preference, obviously, because cruising the web is pretty easy. We could do that right here on the video. We could all do it together. Visit the website of an international news organization or foreign government, or examine a foreign newspaper available at your local library, bookstore, and newsstand. Find a news story about a human rights realized in the United States that is not recognized in another country. The BBC is amazing for that. It's an international news organization, so it works, and it's a foreign newspaper of sorts, foreign news agency anyway. Visit with a student or scout from another country, discuss their typical values, holidays, ethnic foods, and traditions practiced or enjoyed there. Maybe not. And attend a World Jamboree. Well, if only it was so easy. Next World Jamboree is in 2 years. And will be held in West Virginia, just like the current Jamboree that's coming up this year. Participate in and attend an international event in your area, such as an ethnic festival, concert, or play. That's, again, one I'd love to do, but, maybe I'll look it up and see if there's anything coming to town. All right, let's sort of get into the meat and potatoes of this. What is citizenship? Well, citizenship is pretty simple. It's, it's membership in a governed community, as it says right there. Membership comes with privileges, freedoms, duties, which vary depending on the nation's form of government. So, you get citizen by 4 ways. You could say by blood, by soil, through naturalization, or the naturalization of your parent. So if it's by blood, it means that your parents were already citizens of the nation, and that's a pretty common one if your family is traveling abroad, or if you are. It sort of works both way, by soil and by blood, because if your parents are in the military, then if they're on a military base, that's considered U.S. soil. And even if it's in a foreign country. But that's a whole different sort of discussion. But if they are visiting abroad, then, and you are born while in Uganda, then by blood you are already a citizen of the U.S. If your parents are from 2 different countries, you could be claiming by blood to two different countries. So you can say, yeah, I'm a Canadian and an American. By soil, again, if you're born within the legal borders of a nation. So you could claim German citizenship if you were born in German to American parents while they were on vacation. Probably not going to, but you could. Sort of out of your hands at that point. Anyway, through naturalization, the naturalization process is something that we're going to talk about later. But it basically is what allows you to claim allegiance to a specific nation, and then you're entitled to their protection. So, and in the United States, you got to do a whole bunch of stuff to do it. Interestingly enough, it mentions a subject. So if you're a monarch or a dictatorship or something else where where you're a subject to a sovereign authority, then which I guess you could consider yourself a subject to the U.S. government, but it's just not usually considered that way. We all consider ourselves equal citizens, so we're not under anyone, right? All right. U.S. citizenship. Under most forms of citizenships, citizens are obligated to obey the law, pay taxes, and serve the armed forces. So what do we get for that? Well, the right to vote, very important, being able to choose which direction the nation goes. The right to a fair trial, which is in there only because it's like the saying, I don't have to make a rule until somebody goes and breaks it. And then, it was like, why is that rule in there? Because somebody broke that rule, and then I had to write it down saying, no, you can't do this. So, fair trials in England at the time of the creation of the United States was not always a given. Judges were not necessarily crooked, but maybe they just didn't really care enough to, if you watch enough movies of that period, you'll see a lot of corrupt, or just people who let their own opinions, their own personal opinions, sway the matter. So, a fair trial is something that we take for granted that you're not always going to get everywhere else. A right to bear arms. Again, lots of nations where you cannot have weapons. You see in the British dramas, a cop with a gun, and they're very, very rare. Most police officers in England, they carry a stick, a bobby stick, and that's it. And even that is a bit extreme. People, citizens are not allowed to carry arms in England. Occasionally for hunting, you can get a permit. But that's about it. Most weapons and they're highly regulated, but most weapons are for rural hunting, and that's it. Home defense, they don't care. No. Leave. We don't want anyone to have any weapons. Anyway, regardless, moving on. Freedom of religion. Again, you have the right to choose whatever religion you want. If you wanted to be a Christian in Saudi Arabia, do you have that freedom? No, you don't. You can't express your religion. The church has agreements saying it won't. It cannot proselytize in Saudi Arabia. It's a no-fly zone. But we actually get into Israel by saying we can go there, but we cannot preach and proselytize. So it's sort of weird having a presence there without actually being able to express that. Well, you can express your religion, you just can't push it on anyone else. Anyway, but that's not something we have to worry about here. In the United States, you have the freedom of religion. Freedom of speech. Again, you see lots of dictators. I'm not even going to talk about Kim Jong-un or China, where the freedom of speech is impinged upon all the time, especially in such situations as in China, where censorship is rampant, which goes on to the freedom of the press. Freedom of the press is often stifled pretty heavily. They're told what they can do, and sometimes not even that. They're just, you do something that they don't like, and it's just like, boom, knock, knock, knock. Somebody pulls out your computer, they take everything, and they say, have a nice day. If you're lucky. Or sometimes they just put filters and say, no, we don't want any of this stuff showing up, and then we're going to filter everything. So, alright. In a sense, a citizen's duty are built into the rights and freedoms. The right to a free trial, for example, obligates you to serve on juries. That's a good point. The fact that you have free trials means that you're obligated to serve on juries. Jury duty starts whenever you turn, I still haven't, knock on wood, still haven't had to do jury duty, but I've also known people who've done it many, many times. It's it's just one of those things that if it comes up, you just do your duty and you go with it. Might have to take off from work, but it's your duty. It's something that you just do. Because the government rules with the consent of the citizens, Americans must understand and exercise their constitutional rights or risk losing them. All right, so permanent residence. We have, I mentioned that we're citizens and how you could be a citizen, but there are also people who are permanent residents. And you hear about this sometimes when, it's like you got your green card. Oh, well, what is the green card? Green card is a card showing that you are allowed to permanently be a resident in the United States. It does not mean you're a citizen, but it means that you are legally allowed to work, you're allowed to stay in the United States indefinitely, and you can sponsor other family members for immigration. Now, and of course, you're not everyone's going to be able to get a green card. That's just the fact of the matter. If we opened up the floodgates and allowed everybody to get a green card, then we would have, hundreds of thousands of people coming in and flooding up the system. So they sort of limit it to a certain number. I could get my parents to give more information on this, but we're going to go ahead and let that one lie a little bit. But in any case, the fact is that people do immigrate here, and they leave their country, and they come here and become immigrants. They emigrate to become immigrants. So emigrate means to leave, and to immigrate means to arrive, I guess. And when you arrive, the United States Citizen and Immigration Service, USCIS, will then, give you a immigrant visa. So, and if you are qualified, a permanent resident card. Let's see what it says about this. Lawful permanent resident pays taxes but may not vote. Only citizens have that right. Many people who choose to become U.S. citizens want to fully participate in American society and elect government leaders and have a voice in domestic and foreign policies. So here is a nice. To apply for U.S. residency, an immigrant must complete this I-485 form, application to register permanent residence or adjust status, and submit many required supporting documents. Many supporting documents. So there's a lot of hoops that you, in general, have to jump through. And in some countries, for some countries, they won't let you in unless you have skills that they think are valuable. It's like, well, okay, doctor, yeah, you can come in. We need more doctors in here. Car mechanic, no, we got plenty of those. Yeah, no, we don't need you. So that could be a possibility. We haven't even talked about asylum, where if you come from a country where things are so bad that you are offered asylum, then it could be one way that you get into the country, or almost forced into the country, like a refugee. In fact, with Syria, many people from Syria are trying to get asylum. And that's another big hot ticket issue right now is, should we just let them all in and grant all of them immigration visas, or hold them back and say, wait, let's check their background first and then give them slowly, so we can control the amount that comes in, immigration visas. Again, hot topic issue, which we're not going to go into. All right, naturalization. So we talked about naturalization earlier, which is the way which you become a citizen of a country with all the rights and privileges and duties that go with it. So in the U.S., let's see, valid immigration visa, yes. Fulfill your residency requirements, yes. Prepared to demonstrate an understanding of the English language, yes. Know the basics of the U.S. history and how the government works. How do they know that? Because they give you a test. You have to pass an English and a civics test, and then you swear an oath of allegiance, which is a pretty good oath. Let's see if we can find that oath real quick. We'll do it out loud. Yeah, who doesn't want to do oaths of allegiance? All right, the naturalization oath. I hereby declare an oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty, of whom or which I have therefore heretofore been a subject or citizen, that I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear truth, faith, and allegiance to the same, that I will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by the law, that I will perform non-combatant service in the United States of America when required by the law, that I will perform work of national importance under civilian direction when required by the law, and that I will take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, so help me God. So, that's pretty interesting. It doesn't say you'll go out and die for the country, but it does say that you will support it in a wartime situation by doing non-combatant stuff. I guess it does say you'll take up arms to defend it. But in any case, becoming a U.S. citizen is a long process, and it's a big decision, because you're also, in many cases, giving up your citizenship in whatever country you came from. But many people, they don't ever intend to go back. Now, some people take on dual citizenship by doing so. And then they go back and forth from their home country to their adopted country. World citizenship. Oh, this is an interesting topic because, what is a world citizen? You get an idea of a world citizen. Is it got a sort of a international traveler who knows how 15 different languages. Not always. I tend to think of it as just being aware of other countries and how they all interconnect, and the world mosaic, as it were. You look on the front of the Boy Scout uniform, and they added the ring around the patch on your, just over your heart, and that's supposed to indicate that national or that world citizenship, that we're all part of a world collective of cultural diversity, and that we understand the rights of other governments, and for the sake of international security, we must understand, because I'm just reading this off, a nation's relationship to other nations, as well as its citizens' relationship to one another. And then we must cooperate for the good of all. So the United Nations and other international organizations track information about how countries care for their citizens, yada, yada, yada. You want a good place to go? The U.S. CIA, World Facts, has amazing information about every country, and it says, okay, well, how much do people make? How, what's the chance you're going to die sooner rather than later? Let's see what this says. Oh. Zoom. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Comparison of nations in terms of economic well-being and quality of life. I think this is going into the next section that we're going to talk about next time. So we've talked about citizenship and naturalization and stuff such as that. Next time we're going to talk about other nations and what it's like to be in other nations and under other, what are some of the differences between the United States and those other places. All right. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you next time.